Knock, knock. Who's there?
This is Lindsay.
Hey, Lindsey. How's it going today? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Lindsey is an Academy member for everyone tuning in today. She's going to take us through her fitness journey and we're going to dig in and unpack some stuff. And it's just going to be another amazing conversation with someone from our community and just obviously looking to expand and build that community and for you to hear another great story. So, Lindsey, we're going to start at the beginning because this is a really good place to start the conversation and obviously the journey. And I obviously am very privileged to have heard some of your story already, which is great. But you're going to obviously tell it in a little bit more detail and obviously from your perspective as well, in the spoken word. So I want you to start with, where I think it's really important to dial in on is our influences with health and fitness. So you obviously have come to the point where you're at as a member of the Academy now. What does that journey look like throughout your life? And how was that influenced by your early years? So just tell us a little bit about kind of your health, your wellness, your nutrition influences, what that kind of looked like, what you did for activity, etc. And yeah, break it down for us.
So I guess in my early years, when I was a kid, I was a really picky eater. My grandparents especially liked to try and force food upon me that I never really liked too much. I never liked to try new foods. And then I guess like really like I'll go back a bit with my health part of it, but like I guess my food preferences and pickiness never really changed until I was kind of late in my teens, and I was a little bit more open to trying new things. And to be honest with you, like pretty much I'll eat anything now. I love food. But as a kid though, like my mom was a single parent. My dad passed away when I was two. So, my mom worked a full-time job and she did what she could. And, I don't really remember too much, but we didn't eat junk or, you know, like crappy processed foods per se, but we never really had salads or stuff like that. But it wasn't bad food either. But I was also limiting what I would allow myself to eat because I was so picky. But I'm so fortunate that friends, family have actually expanded my taste buds over the years, because I honestly don't know what I've been missing over so many years as a kid. Um, my health, my mom had me into things like swimming as a kid. Nothing competitive, just leisurely swimming lessons. She had me in softball as a child. I was very clumsy, so I didn't get into too many sports as a kid. Didn't really have too much interest as a kid either. Didn't really enjoy gym class too much. Um, I don't know. I mean, it was very competitive, and I don't really think that there was much encouragement over to, saying, enjoy yourself while you're doing something, as opposed to, you have to be good to make it on this team or that team. My mom, over the years, worked out here and there. She was fairly fit. Um, and I was never an overweight child either. Um, but I guess I also had the motivation of my grandparents as a young child too, because they were very obese, and they had very horrible eating habits. And so that actually was something that drove me to later on in life pursue a life of healthier choices and being more active. And I've said it to you before, I've said it many times, I'm more active now in my late 30s than I even was in my 20s or teens. And, I take more risks, I guess. I'm doing a lot of things that my friends don't do, but I always feel like, you have one life, you never know when it'll be over. So do it while you can. And yeah, that's kind of where I was, where when I was a kid, to where I am now with my health and fitness and my eating habits.
Yeah, it's so powerful how even things that we don't. I mean, we do remember things from when being a kid, but I know when I look back, you have those very faint, distant memories, and a lot of that is obviously stories we're told as well, right? When we have conversations with people in our family. But it's so interesting how we hang on to things, right? Like you see, the health of your grandparents, and then that's always in the back of your mind, and it could be driven by somebody else. It might be driven, like for me, for example, it was driven by my own health, not necessarily someone else I was seeing. It was kind of me and what I experienced, and that was a big motivator for me. But it was all those years of growing up and the things that are imprinted on us that we don't necessarily like. I think it takes a fairly I don't know if enlightened's the right word, but it sounds a bit woo woo, but it takes the more enlightened person to realize, right, to look back and say, oh, I see where these kind of habits come from. And even like the picky eating can come from that too, right? Like you can maybe think, oh well, I don't want to eat too much, or I don't want to eat those things because they might affect my health or my weight or whatever it is that you're exposed to. So it's so impactful that's imprinted on us. But it's also nice that you found, I guess a structure to the way you exercise and your fitness. And you obviously mentioned that you do more now. Coming out of your childhood, what was your kind of, I guess, your first experience outside of kind of softball and activity? Obviously you said you saw your mum working out and you did some activity. What was your first kind of experience as let's say an adult, a teenager adult, into kind of health and fitness? Like, was it a gym? Was it, a fitness class? Was it more of a sport? And what was that experience like from someone that maybe hadn't done it kind of, in more of like a regimen of that as a kid?
I think I asked my mom to join a gym around, I want to say maybe age 16. I don't know, like I kind of joined the gym for, I guess it was a bit depressed at the time too. So it was a way of coping. It was a distraction, a release too. Like I didn't do too much like in high school other than I remember I slept a lot and I worked out a lot. Yeah. I wanted to kind of speed my high school years up a little bit because I didn't really enjoy them too much. I didn't like my high school. I actually skipped a lot in grade 11, but fortunately I ended up taking night school and ended up graduating a year early with all my OAC credits, if y'all remember what those used to be. I just wanted the heck out of high school, but I would skip school, go home and snooze, and I would go to the gym, and it made me feel good. And also too, like when I was 18, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she went through treatment for, I guess, 2-3 years or so. And I guess just seeing her kind of, nearly die before my eyes before she got well enough, I think that was also a motivator to kind of take life by the reins, I guess, and kind of take control. And I know that there's not many things in life you have control of. And I think and that's what I hold precious to me is, I'm a bit of a control freak, but, and this is why you'll see is that, this is one thing I can control in my life. I can control the things I do and the things I say. And, working out to me is precious now. It's for as much as physical reasons, but as mental reasons that makes me feel good physically and mentally. So I just keep doing it, and I just love it now.
Yeah. And it's so many really interesting points you made. Firstly, finding a safe space, finding somewhere where you felt good. And I think it's important to say that isn't always the gym for somebody. It could be, it could be walking in nature. It could be whatever it is. But typically that motion and that activity and the endorphins and the hormones and sometimes it's the environments, that could be outdoors, it could be in the gym, whatever it might be, it's very can be very soothing for a lot of people. And I think this is something we just miss as a population. And I think if many, there's such a big percentage of the population that aren't being active in some capacity and aren't hitting the basic guidelines, 150 minutes a week, 20 minutes a day. People aren't hitting that. And I think if we looked and focused more on things like the safe space, the feeling good, that motion, and how it helps us process things and helps us think. And I think we would move towards more people being active as opposed to sometimes what's publicized around health and fitness world. So I think that's really important. And I think that links a little bit else to something else I wrote down, which is key, is it, and your story is, there's a lot of grief in your story. Losing your dad, had your mum bringing you up, and then your mum being sick, and as you said, watching that, and how much of that journey through that early stage of fitness was, I guess, a coping mechanism for mental health as well. Would you say that's accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's huge, and that's all kind of linked, right? And we look at health. I think we look at the world of fitness as a very aesthetic, in its marketing, in the way it's, and everything. And we're all, even as fitness coaches, we're guilty of that. However, if we looked at it from a holistic health and a very macro level when it comes to health, I just think we'd be more successful as an industry. And I think there's so many parts of that as well. Like it's it's an ecosystem, right, of components that support that, mental health being one of them. So I think that was just so important. Now, I guess moving from there and, that journey, and I think that, to be quite honest, that takeaway there, we could probably end it now and it would be impactful for a lot of people. However, we're not, because I got lots of questions. So obviously going into the gym, starting to feel where you were now, how was you were there and you were doing it and it was supporting your mental health and you felt good. How did you feel from a confidence standpoint? Like, you'd stepped into the gym for the first time. You obviously were coping with some stuff, some grief and some mental stuff, like you mentioned, depression. How did you feel confident? Did you feel like you knew what you were doing? Could you step in confidently and use the gym? Did you get some support? Did you get some help? And how did that kind of play out?
I think it can be intimidating as fuck for anybody step in the gym, myself included. That's half the battle is, taking that first step. And also too, like, asking for help. If you don't know how to use something, that takes a lot of courage too. But when I first joined, I guess, the gym when I was a teenager, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't do any group classes. I would just do my own thing. I didn't do group classes because I didn't feel confident enough to do them. I'm very clumsy by nature, so I always felt like I would look like a jackass in front of people. And of course, like, over the years and maturity and, growth, I've just learned to kind of, who gives a shit, right? But, it can be very intimidating going into the gym. And I think, it made me feel good. And I just kind of adopted the attitude of, doesn't matter what anyone else says, do what you do. If it makes you feel good, cool. And I think that's what I liked about it. And I think the key thing is for anybody is finding the things that you enjoy doing. That may not necessarily mean going to a gym, like you said before, going for a walk in nature, or going for a bike ride, or taking your dogs for a walk, or, things like that. You have to find things that you enjoy doing, because going to a gym is not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah. So such an important point, and you'll hear me ramble on about this on any podcast, social media, basically wherever I have a platform to speak and no one can censor me. One thing that drives me nuts is the best anything for anybody. It just, I can't handle it, because it's so much of it out there in the world, and it's so much misguided information, because someone's workout that you do isn't necessarily good for everybody, and if anything, it can have a more detrimental effect than a positive effect, because you've got to find what's right for you. And let's be honest, you could do the perfect fitness program. I could write a pretty standout workout program for anybody. However, that amazing program is not better than a poorly designed program that someone's actually doing. Even if I give them a program and they don't do it, they're not getting anything from it. So sometimes you've got to, yes, there's safety involved. Yes, there's, science behind the workouts and everything else that comes. But at the same time, we just need to be doing it. And sometimes you don't have to be doing it perfectly. You need to be moving. And, in somebody doing a movement not 100% correctly is probably less detrimental than them sitting on the couch all day.
Yeah.
I said it. Feel free to argue with me. Anyone that's listening, I don't really care. It's my show. Do what I want. But that's the truth of it. Like and it has to be like that. And yes, we can dial down and be very specific with our coaching. But exactly to your point, you got to find what you do, and you just got to sometimes not really care what anyone thinks as well.
Yeah.
so important. So how did the clumsy, self-quoted clumsy person that didn't want to look like a dork in front of everybody end up, and I'll say I'm very, very privileged to have met you in this environment. How did you end up in a group fitness class? How did that happen?
I honestly don't know. I don't remember my first class I went to. I don't know if somebody dragged me to a class. Don't get me wrong, I would always do yoga classes, and that's not what I can. When I say group classes, I'm saying like um, hit classes or classes with weights or barbells and stuff like that. Um, I don't know what gave me the oomph to go, but I did, and I'm glad I did. I'm still uncoordinated to this day. I try my best. I actually really, the one thing I really like about gyms, and one thing I don't have at home is, and that I miss about gyms, is the mirror. Not for the vanity aspect, but for actually watching form. I'm big on watching form. That's something I miss about the gyms. But no, I mean, I love the classes, and that's something I really miss with the pandemic. Not doing classes, and that's one thing I thought that, what am I going to do when it first hit? And I still participated in virtual stuff, but it's not the same. But that's one thing I'm grateful for, is the community that we have and that I join every day. We're all in our own living rooms and basements, or some of us are even outside, and we're all working out together, grunting and groaning. And it's fun. It's fun. Sometimes commiserating with each other, and it's just fun. Like, it's just fun being with others. And I feel like I connect with a lot of like-minded people that, do these classes or go to the gym. And I just really enjoy them. And you know what? If I look like a tool, well, that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. At least I'm trying. I mean, like, there's some things that I still like, I'm really like cautious about doing. Like, for instance, I'll call them like a lot of like the boppy classes. I don't feel very coordinated, and sometimes like the left, the right, and all this and that, and like, you should mimic them. No, you shouldn't. And I just feel like I'm about to hurt myself. So those ones, I'm like, I'll just kind of watch. That's cool. But I'm way more brave now at joining a class than I ever was. And that only occurred maybe in my 30, well, maybe like late 20s, I started doing the classes, and I just haven't looked back since then.
Well, we probably won't catch you in any Zumba classes anytime soon. And that's fine.
No.
But again, to my point, you got to do what you like doing. So important. And if you love doing that, I'm all for that. And just, I guess, a little bit of a sidebar, and then I'll come back on point here, is I've spent 20 plus years in the fitness industry, coaching, working with many, many other professionals. And this is always a big thing that I tried to educate my peers on, was that when you looked into the group fitness studio, it's a very different service you offer than you offer as a personal trainer. And the understanding that those people's, the people in that room that maybe aren't doing the best depth squat, or haven't got the tidiest technique on a burpee, or whatever it might be, their alternative is nothing for where they're at right now. And this was a whole thing that I, really committed myself to educating people. I was saying, hey, yeah, it's not perfect, but that's where you come in, where that person does need a little bit more help. If you're connected to them being there and why they're there, that gives you a chance to help that person further with something that's a bit more specific. So that's just a really important thing, that, again, something that winds me up that I needed to say. So I just use this platform to, spout on my rhetoric about fitness. To get back to that, back to group fitness, it is a place to kind of just go in and let go and switch off and focus on, focus and commit, but with other like-minded people. And I think you put it really politely when you said, there's other people there. I think what you were alluding to is that it's nice to suffer together, and not alone, which is funny because Liz was on recently on the show and she said exactly the same thing. I like to suffer with other people. To go through that together. But it's so true, right? And not only does it do that, but if you're anything like, and I've seen you work out, I've had the pleasure of you in a live class and also, online, is I see the way you train and I see the way you push yourself, and no doubt you are pushed pretty hard by the people around you, whether that be me coaching you or the other people around you that maybe are going a little bit quicker, squatting a little bit lower, or whatever it is. So I'm just making an assumption there, but I'm going to assume that's fairly accurate.
Yeah.
So with the world of groups, we obviously touched on that, and what I'd love to kind of lean on a little bit now is how the continuation of your journey and the motivation to keep coming in on the shitty days and, you know, keep getting those workouts in, etc. How much was that driven by the environment of group? So, you know, whether that be group, like you mentioned it online, you mentioned it with the, you know, in live classes, how much does that flip your mindset to know that there's other people there in the community, people you know, or even people you don't know, because you could be standing next to someone in class that you don't know. We're very fortunate to have a tight-knit community where you do know most people. How does that affect you? How does that affect your motivation, your discipline to get there, to work harder when you're there? And, you know, how big an impact? I guess you can't really put a percentage on it, but yeah, talk to that a little bit.
Well, I guess I really look forward to seeing everyone in the workouts. You know, often you spotlight yourself, and I click the screen and I want to like kind of watch everyone else as well, because sometimes misery loves company, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think like whether it's in the virtual environment or in the actual real world, you know, I think it's important to, I mean, the community is everything, I guess. Like, and again, you have to find what it is that you like and, you know, kind of run with it. And with this fitness community, it's just, you know, there's days I wake up and I'm like, you know, I'm not really feeling it. And then I'm like, well, you know, I'm up and, you know, like other people are going to be signing in too. So then might as well just, you know, get myself like dressed and just do it, and I'll feel better afterwards. And it's just, it's nice that I'm not doing something alone too. Like before, like I could do like virtual workouts, you know, on social media social media. And, you know, it's just me and I'm listening to somebody, and that's great and everything, but it's not the same. I mean, working out in a group as a community virtually is almost just as good as in person. Not quite, but almost. And I mean, I'll take that, because I don't talk to many people. I haven't talked to many people in the last year and a half. Conversation is very awkward these days. And, you know, it's just nice to kind of like, you know, banter or make faces at other people, or just seeing them kind of like, you know, give you a nasty look or have a comment for you. And it's just, I don't know, it's really nice. I really enjoy it. And I congratulate you and Nikki both for what you guys have done in a short period of time. It's so awesome to see everybody and how much everyone's enjoying everything. So I applaud you both.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I just think it's important to acknowledge praise, although it feels awkward. I'm super good at accepting compliments. But yeah, truly thank you for mentioning that. And, you know, it's kind of funny that sometimes sometimes I have to sit and remember. And when I try and sit and just kind of reflect sometimes, is that I'm the next person outside of a lot of people's households that they probably speak to the most is me, after like their partner and their kids or whoever, or their animals. And we know about your animals because they're always running around being cute and sticking their butt on the screen.
One's right here.
while I'm coaching. But yeah, and so many people have said that. They're like, oh wow, I get to seeing you and listening to you and speaking to you and connecting with you on a screen is the most interaction I get. So I have to remember that and be grateful for that, right? And understand that that's a position of privilege for us as coaches. And, you know, and that helps me wake up and give everything I've got every time I coach a session to understand that and remember that. So it's always good to hear. And it's so interesting that you mentioned about being kind of introverted and independent and liking kind of your own company, but then you're drawn to this world where it's all about connecting with others. So I think and I would say I'm very similar, although I picked an interesting career to do. I stand in front of people all day, but it's the same. Like I have that. I like my own time. Nikki always laughs at me because I'm down here right now in the basement and the studio is right behind me, and I kind of live down here. Like I'm coaching or I'm at my desk. And I like it. And she's like, don't you get bored down there on your own? She's like, you can come and sit upstairs if you like. I'm like, no, thanks. I'm like, you talk to yourself, and it drives me crazy. And B, it's so nice down here. I'm just like on my own in my little corner doing my thing. I like that solitude of it. I like the solitude of just going through it, which is why I think I just warmed so quickly to building a business, because it is a lot of just sitting on your own, plowing through tasks that need to be done to be able to get to that finished product, if you like. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that we are quite connected in that as well. So I think we kind of jumped through the story a little bit there, but I think that was very, very powerful. And I love that we were able to connect in person and kind of keep that connection, and obviously continue that. And I know that you jumped back into the kind of world of fitness and training online kind of early this year, if I remember. So we're 2021. How was that? Because I know you'd come through through kind of obviously the pandemic and not working out in the gym. Then you'd had some health problems that you'd mentioned, and then you kind of came back in. What was it like kind of regaining that fitness? I don't know if regaining the fitness is the right description, but kind of coming back into that world of regular kind of higher intense exercise off the back of, some health issues and also not working out in the gym because of the pandemic. However, you've been active. What was that experience like? Was it like the intimidating kind of, were you a little bit intimidated or scared to walk into that, or did you feel quite confident coming back in after that?
No, I think I felt confident. It wasn't, I didn't feel, intimidated or scared or anything like that. I mean, scared, I felt that I would maybe hurt myself, because I had surgery in October and I could not do much more than lay around on my couch and hobble around my condo for a week. And I thought it was very sobering actually, because I thought I would be, it's fine, I'll be fine. It's minor but major surgery at the same time because they went up through the femoral artery. And that hurt a lot. Like, I had a hematoma as well. So, I really didn't start working out again until maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And at that point, I would do a yoga class and it was exhausting. But I mean, the body doesn't forget either. So it didn't take long for me to kind of get back into my groove and start doing the things that I was doing pre-surgery. But like I said, I had surgery in October and I didn't really come back to doing things like I had previously until I'd say probably January. And even still, like I was doing a lot. I think in the beginning I was doing a lot of walking, and I overdid it actually in the first week because I was thinking, the more I walk, the better. And I wake up every day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing too much. And so it was actually kind of a nice little pause to kind of take a forced breather, and get well. But I was eager and excited to kind of come back and start resuming my usuals, I guess you could say. And since January, I'm doing stuff every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Signed up for a Spartan later this year. So yeah, all's good now. Everything's good, great.
It's so good to hear that, because and the why I asked that is that we all experience, like you kind of mentioned already, which was a very very poignant point earlier on in the episode, that we don't control very much in our lives. I think we can control our reactions and our judgments, and beyond that there's not a lot else we control in the world, the internal stuff. And things come up, right? Things happen and we have setbacks, and how we step back in from those setbacks, I think, is vitally important to our resilience, and remembering that all the work you've done prior to that, and you step back in with not a lot of noticeable regression from what I'd seen. Like, I'd seen you working out, I'd had the pleasure of you in my sessions before, and then kind of coming back in and not really noticing that. And I think that just that confidence that you build, and I guess my point is that we have to go through this journey through fitness and wellness and whatever it is that you're going through, really, and you build that resilience, and then you can step back in even after a setback. Setbacks are going to happen, but you're going to be able to manage them. They might be health related, like you said. They could be really uncomfortable, it could be painful. You wouldn't, like you said, you were out for a period of time without being able to do anything. And I think that happens to everybody, either through an injury or health problems, or just through falling off the wagon, so to speak. And people need to get back into that, and it's important to know that that happens to all of us, especially the last 18 months. Yeah. And we can step back into it. We don't go back to square one when those things happen, right? We go back a couple of steps and then we just step back in and understanding, yes, be cautious 100%. But we can get back into what we're doing, and having that supportive community, that group, someone you trust there to talk you through and coach you through stuff and make sure that you're doing things in the right way and in the right direction is obviously vitally important. So I'm so happy that you came and you found me, and we started to work together, because that has led us to this amazing place and you being on the show, which is awesome. So I'm very happy about.
I met so many wonderful people too. I mean, even not just your classes, but Nikki's classes. You guys all have such a diverse, I guess, group of members. So it's nice, and it's actually been kind of pretty cool to make friends with some of the people or some of the members that you guys have. And it's going to be fun actually meeting some of them at the Spartan in October. Meeting people in the flesh and putting faces to names and behind, text messages and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I have to say, it's hard making friends, I think, as adults.
So awkward, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing, I found kind of intimidating, I guess, first going into classes when I first started going to the group classes, was that, it can be really intimidating trying to talk to people and kind of make buddy with them and kind of get on the in with them. And, but I think actually with this virtual environment, that's actually taken that away completely, because, we all see each other on the screen and we say our hellos, and we've kind of slowly all kind of gotten to know each other in one way or another over, the last, 7 months now. And, it's, you have some wonderful friends. So I'm really grateful. Again, back to the community. I'm really grateful for the community. It's been nice, because it's been a lonely 16 months with, basically just talking to my husband, my mom, my aunt, my stepdad, and my coworkers. So it's nice.
Oh, I hear you. I have all those people. I don't even have any coworkers anymore. Just like I said, sit in the basement on my own to talk to myself. So yes, I appreciate it as well, because I'm like, this is my social time here. They're like, why are you such a good mood? I'm like, because this is the most people I've seen all day. It's awesome. Just gonna talk to everyone or make you listen to me, which is typically what I do. So I got a few kind of questions about current day coming up, but one thing I want to go back to that I didn't touch on, and I think this is really important. You'd mentioned that you'd become braver and you'd taken risks and you'd done, things that maybe, people around you hadn't done, or, and I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but I'm going to hope that we find out. What it makes me think is there is a big correlation between our increases in, I'm going to call it fitness, but whatever you refer to it as, is as we go through that journey and we start to expose ourselves to different types of fitness and we find things that we enjoy and we get fitter, is that it also progresses us from a mindset standpoint. And I'd love to hear if you agree with that, and how those things go parallel and lead us to make brave choices in life, whether they be fitness, health related, and I'd love to find out what they were, or are they other choices that you've made, brave choices in life outside of health and fitness, and has it contributed to them?
I think there's a couple things I can say to that. Being braver, I just think, that comes just from my own perspective. I think just from age and maturity and growth, I just, I don't care what anyone says or thinks anymore. And I just do what makes me happy. And so, when I say things like, I'm doing a lot of things that a lot of my friends don't do, in that, I feel like a lot of the times in life, people get busy, people have children, they have family members they take care of. But I feel like a lot of people get complacent and a lot of the times lazy too. So I don't know where I was going with that.
That's okay.
I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I guess I've had a life full of experience and trauma and just a lot of life experiences that, I just want to try to do more things and live more. And be more, and you know, um, and I just think that involves me taking a lot of risks and just enjoying the things that I'm doing, and and running with it. Like things like I was saying to my friend the other day, I asked her if she wanted to go skydiving, and we're gonna make a plan to go skydiving next year. And sure, that scares the shit out of me. But at the same time, like, I think that that's so cool. Thank Jesus I'm not going on my own, and I'm gonna be able to strap somebody's belly, because pull what cord.
Yeah.
But things like that. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm just being more adventurous and being more taking more risks as I get older, just because I don't know, I can and I want to, and I see a lot of growth in those experiences. Yeah.
I bought Nikki a skydive for her birthday one year. I'm still not quite sure how she felt about it.
She didn't go.
No, she did. She went
Oh.
full in, jumped out of a plane with like I think it was about 12 hours notice. Like literally the day before, I was like, "Oh, by the way, we're going skydiving tomorrow." Yeah, so pretty awesome, and we were very lucky to jump out above the Lake of Bays in New Zealand, and be able to see that from whatever it was, 12,000 foot. I think it 12,000 feet. I think it was something like that, and be able to see all that stuff. And yeah, it was a pretty amazing experience. So definitely do it, everyone out there, even if you're scared of heights. I was a little cautious of. I've been a bit cautious around heights. I was until that day. Now I'm not bothered one bit. So it definitely is a good. I don't know if there's any psychologists listening that will say it's a very bad way to deal with your fears. However, it seemed to work for me. So just yeah, not professional advice, but just a little personal experience. It was good fun, and we'll ask Nikki next time you're on a session. You can ask her how she felt about that gift. Will be a
Will
fun
do.
conversation starter. I love your perspective on that, and there is so much growth in those decisions we make, and it could be, I'm gonna leverage this a little bit towards the business, but when you make a brave choice to jump into something, and so many times people have done that didn't really know what it was about, or came on board and joined the academy and weren't so sure and didn't want to be on camera, and maybe weren't didn't want to be around a group, and there's the growth in that, right? It's not just, and I'm not talking about growth of people's muscles or their heart, although that happens too, hopefully. Is there's this growth in them, right? Being out there, and I get so many messages about those sorts of things. So it is powerful, and it doesn't mean we're the only place that's doing that, because we're not. There's many places live and online. However, it is part of the community, and we get to grow, and we get to go on those journeys as a collective. And I'm talking about that with me as well. Like, just because I'm coaching sessions doesn't mean I'm the finished article by a long shot. So there's all those growth opportunities, and starting an academy, and throwing our life into it is part of that growth, right? So like I said, we all get to go along those journeys together in some capacity. So I love your perspective on that, and I didn't expect anything else, because I've had the pleasure of having conversations with you and kind of seeing your mindset to things, but it was great to hear it. So now I guess I want to talk a little bit about kind of just move into the what you find, and I think we've touched on it a little bit, but what in the last 6 weeks, what have you found different in your fitness, your health and well-being, being an academy member, taking sessions, seeing what we have to offer? How has that impacted you just over the last 6 weeks? Obviously, there's a big journey behind that, which is great that we heard that. Now I'd love you just to touch briefly on, how you're finding it, what you love about it, and how it's maybe impacted you.
Well, one thing for sure I can say is that no two classes are the same ever. Um, the time, usually the classes that I go to are perfect. And I also like the timing that you offer as well, which is great. You have a variety of classes, which is really great. I don't think the only classes I haven't been to are the spinning. Maybe that's it, because I
Yeah.
don't have a spin. But I honestly, these are classes that I would go to in person. Um, so I mean, they're right up my alley, and they're challenging. There's days that I wake up where, or not even days, yes, I'm hurting for days. I'll do for instance, like tomorrow's a strength class. Oftentimes I'm still hurting by Friday. And, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, I could cancel this. But, like, nope, nope. Lynn's just do it. Just do it. Just get it over with. You'll be happy once it's done and be done with it. But no, I like the selection. And as you can see, like pretty much I'm signing up for classes the second that they open up. Haven't signed up for anything next week because I'm actually going away for 6 days and there's no internet, there's no cell, no electricity, well, no hydro. So I'm completely off the grid. So all these little post-it notes that I've been writing down, sets and AMRAMs and EMOMs in the mornings, which not for those purposes, but I write them down because I don't want to forget and have to ask you and unmute myself all the time. Like, what was that move again? I wrote them down. So now it's great. I have a pile of these sticky notes that I can take away with me next week so that I don't feel like I'm going to be a bump on a log, even though I'm sure I could probably sit on my ass for a week and it would be okay, but that's not me. So, I'll be doing these little workouts every day. So thank you for those. But no, the last 6 weeks have been awesome. I think I've done like up to date, like I want to say 38, 39, something like that. So clearly I like them. And you see me in class and thank God for mute. Because the huffing and puffing that I'm doing, or sometimes I'm talking to myself and not saying such nice things. I have to admit I've been pretty good. I've only flashed you the middle finger maybe a handful of times, so that's pretty good.
Probably less than I deserved.
And again, good thing that I'm on mute for your purposes, because it's different that when we used to be in class, with me physically being there, you don't have the opportunity to shut me up. Like I'm there squawking, right? So, it's a win-win situation where I'm not huffing and puffing, and, you also have the option to mute me at times too. But no, the last 6 weeks has been fun, and I have to say I'm going to miss you all next week. But I can't wait to come back and, of course, finish up this week with probably a handful of classes, maybe a couple of days of double headers. Me. Can't get enough of you guys. Either that or I'm a button for punishment, or both. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you know what? We kind of built the schedule around that, right? Like it's variety for different things for different people, but it's also variety to give you balance, right? So if you are in the 1s and 2s a day and you're fitting in those smaller workouts in, like, we promote this, that 15 to 60-minute sessions with a real holistic approach. So it's not just the one type of thing. And I know you mentioned that when we chatted, and you kind of passed on some notes that when sometimes you're really focusing on one type of training, it isn't always as effective because we're just doing the same thing. So it might be too much impact or too much flexibility work, and there's not the balance, whereas you're really getting that balance from all your sessions. And I think that's important to say, because not everyone's doing 2 a day, not everyone's doing, but some people are doing too much of the same thing. So you're really getting that diversity in your workouts, which is so important to our overall health and well-being. So appreciate you sharing that. Look, I just want to thank you for coming on, sharing your story, being brave, being open to an authentic conversation, because I really appreciate those. It's really important to me, and I love to hear that kind of journey. Like I've been saying while we've been promoting the show, and for everyone listening who would have heard this, these are really our long format testimonials. Think about those snippets of before and after shots that you see on social media. We're going for the long format version. We really want to hear the story behind it, the transformation, and how that's kind of ended you up with the Nock Academy, and how that's continuing with your fitness journey. So really appreciate you being. Also appreciate your effort, your commitment. Always have, even in live classes. I'm a bit of a switch off and focus and stay in my zone and dig in, and you're very similar when you work out, and I really appreciate that personally as well. So we're going to finish with the final question for all of our Academy members that come on the show, which is, what is your favorite exercise, or if there's not a specific exercise, what is your favorite type of workout?
Funny you should say that, because I used to hate cardio, and HIIT is cardio based. So I love HIIT.
Yeah.
I love hate it. Put it that way. Things like burpees, love, hate, uh, jump squats, hate, love, things like that.
Unreal.
I'd have to say probably hit classes for sure, or like metabolic conditioning type classes for sure. Stuff
Love
that
it.
gets my heart rate jacked to 170, 180.
Love it. Well, that was good because Liz was on, for everyone tuning in, a couple of you go back to episode 2 where Academy member Liz was on. She had heavy deadlifts as her choice. So we've got some good either ends of the spectrum there, which I love. But I'm definitely for those ones that I hate to do, but get my heart rate up super high too. So yeah, I'm in the same camp with you. Look, thank you so much for coming on. We
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate it. You're very welcome. And, let's get you chilling out and winding down a little bit on your vacation and then back to your workouts. I really appreciate it. Hand over to you for any final thoughts, anything else you'd like to share before we sign off.
I just wish both you and Nikki all the best, and thank you for everything that you do for me, for my fellow friends, and I look forward to any new folks that want to take the plunge and join in on the fun.
Yeah, do it. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. That is the end of today's show. Please, if you got something impactful from the episode, share this with someone that you love. Let them experience this journey, this story. If you like what you heard, you want to find out more, just head over to the show notes. You can join our Facebook group. It's right at the very top of the show notes. In that Facebook group, we're taking requests for guests and topics and just digging in and building our greater community outside of the actual academy. We're trying to build another community that's supported within the Nock Academy. So please go check that out. You'll also find all the other links in there if you're interested in coming and jumping into a 7-day trial. You'll find the link. You'll come and find out what we're all about, and you'll get to meet Lindsey on a workout because she's there on most of them. Have an awesome rest of your day, evening, whatever you're listening today, whatever time of day it is. Enjoy it, and we will catch you on the next episode.